on the shape of the ladder. So we just make sure that the outer layers are nice and cool, so they as they harden, they'll be able to stay as put. Kensuke was born in Kanagawa, Japan, and he studied at the glass. He studied at Toyama Institute of Glass Art, and he graduated in 2021. And he also attended Tama Art University. He was awarded his residency through the Visiting Artist Program. He initially applied to be a visiting artist in 2020, but due to the pandemic, he made it just now. So it's been a long time coming. There are many visiting artists who applied before the pandemic, who just recently had the chance to create during their visiting artist residency here in the hot shop with the team, with the hot shop team. Can we please see some of the past work? Welcome to the hot shop. Today we have Kensuke Takeoka and Mai Noguchi. They are from Japan. Kensuke studied at Glass Art Toyama Institute and graduated in 2021. He also studied at Tama Art University, and he was awarded his residency application through the Visiting Artist Program. He actually applied back in 2020, but due to the pandemic, we had to postpone. So now he finally made it here with us today. So the process starts as they pull cane across the ground. As you can see, we've pulled out some cane. It's then slumped over kiln shelves, which will create divots, kind of like a wave within those straight cane. Then they'll take some more pulled cane and weave it through those negative spaces. So now we have a knit pattern. From the knit pattern, we'll roll up the glass over a bubble, or maybe not over a bubble, but right now we're rolling up the glass, so we're gonna combine the glass into a more of a basket-like shape. Here up on the big screen, you can see some of their previous works. We have Mae with us, Noguchi, and Kensuke Takeoka. Takeoka, sorry. So everything that we do here starts in the furnace. The furnace is a large ceramic tank. It's full of 1,000 pounds of molten hot glass. It runs 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. So dipping into the furnace is like dipping into a jar of honey, and then from there, we'll gather around the end of a blowpipe, which is what Ben is rotating right now. He has a nice gather of glass with a bubble that he's blown inside of it. And so as he's rotating, he's just cooling that bubble off as he rotates back and forth before he goes to take another gather. So gathering, because glass is similar to honey, it's very viscous. And when you rotate that pipe and rotate that glass into itself, there's a certain level of viscosity that allows it to adhere to itself. So there's surface tension in the glass. And so as you get a nice big gather, you'll come back to the bench and work it. And then they'll also use the glory hole. The glory hole is a large tank, drum-shaped oven. There's no glass inside of the glory hole, which is the large oven there in the middle that's radiating orange. The glory hole is about 2,300 degrees. It's powered by natural gas and forced air, and we heat the glory hole up every morning and we turn them off every night. So they get up to about 2,300 degrees. The tank where all the glass is held is 2,100 degrees, so the furnace. If you take a look over at Ben, he's blowing some more air into that pipe to hollow out a space. We're going to make a basket that has been woven with glass that has been slumped and then fused. We have to wait in this process for the fused glass to get up to a proper temperature, and so that's what we've done today is we've created what we need to be able to attach the woven glass. So Daria is cutting the glass down into smaller cane, like smaller pieces of cane, and then they'll be chopped down again and then slumped in the oven and then also woven together. And so we're creating a collar to be applied to the basket that we're going to pick up. As Sarah blows into the pipe, she expands that bubble, and then with certain tools, Ben will go in and shape this collar piece that will help us with our basket, which is the next step of the process. For those of you who are just joining us, we have Kensuke Takeoka and Mae Noguchi from Japan. Kensuke studied at Toyama Institute of Glass Art, and he actually applied and was awarded a visiting artist residency here. So he applied with Museum of Glass and was awarded in 2020. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we had to postpone, and now he's finally able to work with our Hot Shop team. Can we please see some of Ken's previous works? So Ben is using his jacks to just give some even shape to this. It's a collar. We'll refer to it as a collar. We're going to place it on some of the woven glass. So the glass that was cut down is cane, and cane is pulled across the room, and then it's put into the furnace to be slumped, and then once it's slumped, there'll be low and high point. The low and high points will then be woven. After they're woven together, they'll look something like these items here. So this glass has been woven, and there's small pieces of cane reaming all of the glass together, so it's weaving it together and holding the shape where the high and the low points meet. And in that void, they'll ream a clear piece of glass. And then from there, we'll put it into an oven and heat it up to probably about 13 or 1400 degrees. And then it'll be rolled up. Right now, there's a collar that we have, and we're just allowing it to chill. Then we're gonna pick up some cane that has been woven in kiln. So that's the part where some glass is blown, some glass is heated, and I'm just waiting to see what's going to happen next so I can let you know. So we're going to make sure that this collar is nice and hot. That torch is about 5,000 degrees. It's a hot torch. And the more that we get this collar nice and hot, then it'll be easier to roll up the woven glass, so the woven fused glass. Can we please see some of the past works that Ken has created? So the large drum-shaped oven that we will work in and out of once we pick up this pattern is known as it's known as a glory hole, and it's just a place where we reheat the glass. There's no glass inside of the glory hole. It's a 2300 degree oven, and it's powered by natural gas and forced air, and it's used only for reheating to prevent thermal shock. And that's what the inside of your glory hole will look like. It's bricks, ceramic bricks, or fire. I can't. We have to continue to rotate the glass because as it continues to catch the heat, we don't want it to slowly fall left or right on the mandrel. We need it to stay still. We stay positioned properly as it rotates so it rotates evenly. So it'll open the doors and then it'll slowly roll up. He'll slowly roll up the fused glass over that collar. Oh. So we don't want to lose the glass that has been created. So instead of just throwing it away, we're going to put it into an annealing oven. So because we already ramped it up, we want to cool it down at an even temperature. So organically, that woven glass has already been baked up to the proper temperature to allow it to fuse together. So now everything that was woven had been fused to a certain degrees. And unfortunately, it didn't quite wrap around that coil. So we took it to the oven so it can bake down properly to prevent it from shock, to prevent thermal shock. This hot shop is a place for artists from around the world to come and experiment and create their ideas in glass. So what are you looking at is an 18-year relationship exhibit that is between Pilchuck Glass School and Stanwood, Washington, and also the Museum of Glass Hot Shop. So this is a visiting artist program. So everything that you see in the visiting artist program, the What Are You Looking At exhibit in the one of the first or second galleries, all of those pieces were made here at the Museum of Glass due to the visiting artist in residency program. And so everything that Kensuke makes today, Kensuke, everything that he makes today with Maye will go with him except for one piece will be added to our collection. So far we've picked up two pieces that have been woven, and we kind of cinched them at the four corners, but the middle was an entire, kind of looked like the earth in the middle of it. So it was really big hollow ball, very beautiful. And then I don't know if you guys were here earlier, but we also rolled up some woven glass on a collar as we just attempted to again. So as they recollect themselves and think about a plan to move forward to be more successful, this is the Visiting Artist Program here at Museum of Glass. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We're still going to keep working. We have to figure out what's next. Can we please see the kids design glass video? You okay?
It's a baby monster. Pip is a baby monster that loves to smile and laugh. Even though he's little and cute, he gives a big cry. Also, Pip loves food, especially bananas. He will eat any speck of food in sight.
Oh, it's amazing. Totally amazing. And especially if the pieces of art go traveling around, other kids will see, oh my gosh, I could do that too. You know, it's not just somebody else that, you know, they did it, you know, I couldn't do that. Absolutely not. Anyone can do this. And I think that's what it shows the kids.
Maybe not everybody can win.
But, and
I think it's gonna stand up there with one of the coolest things that a museum has ever done.
What is it? A cucumber all dressed up for a night on the town? That's pretty ridiculously funny.
The funnest part about this project is how fresh the ideas are coming from the kids who they have no idea of glass blowing techniques. They don't care.
Nobody saw this coming. We'd make one piece and it was given to the family. And then we realized, well, wait a second, there's something more here. We started to get more drawings, more interesting drawings, and it really kind of snowballed a little bit.
Bacon Boy was special. The hat almost looks like a frying pan.
Maybe he's wearing a frying pan.
I don't really do any work when I just break.
bacon, baby.
It's fine.
All I see.
How's that for his arm? Fingers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it really brings it home and really shows that, you know, there's an artist in all of us, I think. So, and it's human nature to be creative. So I think we lose that as we get older sometimes, and it's cool to see this pure creative nature that children possess. So I think it's cool to share that with the rest of the world, hopefully. So.
Thank you for supporting Kids Design Glass.
The Kids Design Glass program welcomes all the youth to submit an illustration. If their illustration is chosen, they will come to the hot shop and watch their illustration come to life. It's for the youth that are 12 and under. Be sure to apply if you're interested, and if you're chosen, you'll be able to watch your creation. Just as a reminder, we have Kensuke Takeoka and Mae Noguchi. They're both here from Japan. Kensuke applied to be a visiting artist and was chosen in 2020. But unfortunately, due to the pandemic, he arrived. Well, he did make it here. It just took a little time because of the pandemic. So now he's here working with us and the Hot Shop team. His process has a lot to do with pulling cane, which means here on these ladders, he's pulled out glass. He'll then slump it in an oven. Once it's slumped in an oven, then he'll fuse it back up to a certain temperature and then roll it up. Can we please see some of Ken's previous works? Right now, before we get started, we're giving the oven some time to ramp up. And so that means that the oven has to get up to a certain degrees before we're able to roll the weaved glass into blown glass objects. If you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. My name is Emily. I'll be sure to answer any questions. The glass on this hot plate, well, it's going to be able to get, it's a kiln shelf, but as it's heated up, um, it'll start to fuse together the pieces that are laid down. And what he's doing is he's matching the crisscross points, and then he'll ream a piece of cane through the circles that are, it's weaving. So he'll ream it through the positive points. And then when he goes to move it, it's all interlocked, it's all intertwined. So it moves as one unit. For those of you who are just joining us, we have Kensuke Takeoka and Mae Noguchi. they are creating some woven fused pieces of glass that'll be re-rolled up and then shaped to their liking. If you there, you can see Kensuke. He studied at Toyama Institute of Glass Art, and he applied to the visiting artist program here and was and received a residency back in 2020. But now he's working with us today due to the pandemic. We took some time off of our visiting artist program. And right now, not Sarah, sorry, Gabe and Daria are going to pull some more cane. The cane is the clear glass that you see being woven here. It's been put through a couple different or just one process, which is slumping. So the glass was slumped between kiln shelves, and the shelves had space between them. So when you lay the when you lay the cane out across the kiln shelves in a horizontal setting, there are multiple shelves. The glass will slump in between the space created, and it creates a wave-like piece of cane. And as you can see now, Ken is he's reaming clear glass between the kind of like squiggly canes. And so from there, it'll then go and be fused in an oven and rolled into a shape. Rolled up into what? A collar? Oh, you're gonna blow another bubble and roll it up? Blow a bubble? Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So now we're going to blow a bubble and then roll it up with the woven glass that's inside of the kiln. That is after we pull this cane out. So next we'll start our bubble to roll up. After the oven gets up to a specific temperature, we'll be able to roll up some more woven glass. Welcome back to the Hot Shop. For those of you who are just joining us, I can show you some of Ken's past work. So Kensuke Takeoka, and Mae Noguchi are here working with us today. We are rolling up woven fused pieces. So as you can see, they're coming from Japan. Ken studied at Toyama Institute of Glass Art. So they worked at the Toyama studio as well. Can we please see some of Ken's past works of art? The furnace is a large ceramic tank. So the furnace is where my aide just pulled a gather of glass, and so it holds up to 1,000 pounds of molten hot glass. It's powered by natural gas and forced air, and it runs 24 hours, 7 days a week. Dipping into the furnace is like dipping into a jar of honey. So as you rotate that glass, as you rotate the stainless steel pipe, glass starts to gather on the end of that rod, and dipping into the furnace is similar to dipping into a jar of honey. So glass contains a certain level of viscosity, which allows it to adhere to itself as you rotate. So from there, we'll go in and out of the glory hole. The glory hole is a large ceramic a large ceramic oven, and it gets up to about 2,300 degrees. It's also powered by natural gas and forced air. Can we please see the glory hole diagram? So every evening we turn off our glory holes, and then every morning we light them up, and it takes about 45 minutes to 60 minutes for them to get up to about 2,300 degrees. We will create a clear bubble to be blown out and then rolled into the woven pattern. As we continue to take glass from the furnace here at the Museum of Glass, we have to refill the furnaces with more glass. And so this process is known as charging the furnace. Can we please see the charging the furnace video?
Charging the furnace is what we call filling the furnace up with glass. Glass cullet is washed clean and loaded into tubes for filling. Here at the museum, we don't use recycled bottles. Instead, we melt cullet that has been specifically designed to make blown glass art. The primary ingredient in glass is silica sand or silicon dioxide. The other two main ingredients are soda or sodium oxide, which lowers the melting temperature, and lime or calcium oxide to stabilize it. Once the cullet is loaded into the 2300 degree furnace, a rake is used to level the glass for even melting. The furnaces at the Museum of Glass hold approximately 1,000 pounds of clear molten glass and run continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So as the cane is pulled across the floor, they'll stop pulling at a certain point and allow it to chill. As it chills, they'll then lay it down. They don't want it to be too hot when it touches the ladders because it'll take the shape of the ladder. So they have to let the layers cool down. And that glass is still super hot, easily above 800 degrees when they let it touch the ladders, because you can still smell the wood burning sometimes. Like I can get a couple whiffs of it. So after this, it'll be cut down and then woven as Ken is doing now. So as Ben chills this bubble, he'll go back and gather more glass over this bubble. We just have to go a little bit steady. Can't go too fast because if we put hot glass into the furnace to gather more hot glass, we'll have a little bit of a hot mess and it'll be a little bit too malleable at that point. So we're gonna let it chill down and then gather again. We'll strip some of that extra glass off, and all of the glass that is stripped into that bucket will be reused because it has not been cross-contaminated with color. Today we're not using any color in our process, which is really cool because often we put a lot of color on glass. Color is applied to glass in many different ways here at the Hot Shop. It's chopped glass, which is frit, pulverized glass, with its powder, and color overlay, which is preheated color bars and laid over a clear bubble. Kensuke is here with us today. He is from Japan, and Mae Noguchi is with him also. They are a husband and wife team. They're both independent artists. Kensuke studied at Toyama Institute of Glass Art. You can see some of his woven, wrapped sculptures up here on the big screen. They have been here for 2 weeks before today preparing for what you guys get to see. So this is the first day of their residency. 2 weeks is a long time to come A lot of other visiting artists may show up slightly before, but 2 weeks is a pretty long time for preparation because it's such an intricate process that you need a lot of time. Can't quite bring all this glass over from Japan either in your suitcase, so they have to build their woven patterns here in the hot shop. And so that's what you see. The first part is the cane being pulled. The second step is the cane being slumped over kiln shelves to create that wave-like texture within those canes that were pulled. Then they're assembled as Kim was just doing. They're assembled, and at the so at the low and the high points, in between those points, there's a cane of clear glass woven down the middle, and so it becomes one unit. It's then put into an oven and fused up to a certain temperature. Once it's fused up to a certain temperature, we'll go over from the hot shop and capture this woven. It's really hot. It's like up to 1,400 degrees, so 1,400 in one of those boxes. And then now I think Ben is creating another collar at the moment, or a bubble. We're gonna do a bubble, so we'll take a bubble and we'll lay it on. We're gonna lay it in one of these kilns where we have some of this woven fused glass, and we're gonna pancake it left and right side, and then we'll go back and clean up all the woven sculpture around it. Can we please see some of the past works for those who just joined us of Ken and Mae? So as Sarah blows into the end of this pipe, as she exhales, she enlarges that bubble, and Ben has papers in his hand, and the papers allow him to basically sculpt that glass with his hand without getting burnt. And the paper are rolled up newspaper soaked in water. And when that steam, when the cold water meets the hot glass, the thin layer of steam is the protection. It's a layer of protection to have minimal residue left on the glass from the papers, because of course if we put dry paper on 2,000 degrees of hot glass, it would just instantly catch fire. So we use water. We go through a lot of newspapers, so if you're local and you'd like to donate some newspaper, they'd be more than happy to take your donations. These papers last about 7 days, and then I'm not really sure how many pieces of paper each bundle consumes, but it's a lot because that paper is really thick. Gabe, what he did was flatten out this cane to kind of make more of a ribbon, and so, ooh, well, this would allow the cane to be flat and opposition to be round, and that was weird. So what that does is it manipulates the texture of how the glass is then slumped. So these are more so like circles. So when we flatten the cane and pull it out, we'll get more of a rectangle-like pattern. If you all have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. We have Kensuke Takeoka and Mae Noguchi with us from Japan. They are coming from the Toyama studio, glass studio. On the plate here, there are some woven pattern, some woven cane that will be picked up. That plate is just a really hot piece of graph. Ooh. So when Ben's ready and the bubble is prepared nice and hot, he'll lay it over this plate that Sarah's prepping the slumped cane over. So now we'll begin to heat up those pieces as they are wrapped around that bubble. The glory hole gets up to about 2,300 degrees. There's no glass inside the glory hole, there's only heat. So this piece of cane was flattened to be able to be pulled out like ribbon. So it's more so like a rectangle. And my A is looking at the diameter to see if they're similar. Well, the size to see if it's similar because it can't be too thick and it can't be too thin when it's pulled out. So her and Gabe are communicating about if it's okay or not, if it's thick enough or thin enough. We had to add a couple more pieces of cane that has been slumped to be like a squiggly onto the bubble in the middle. So now as we filled in that void, for those that are just joining us, can we please see some of the Ken's past work? If you look up on the big screen in a moment, you'll be able to see some of Ken's work. And so we've pinched the end of that glass and then using our diamond shears at a 360 shear to remove ourselves. So in the middle where those scissors cross at, you'll be able to see the reflection of a diamond. So it gives us a nice even cut. So as we are cleaning up the bubble, what we're doing is bringing that pattern together a bit more. And then the final form, we'll be able to see it come together. If you look here to our right, we have Gabe and Daria pulling out some cane. The cane is used to be slumped to be able to create these pieces of cane that are crinkled and kind of waved. Then they're woven, and once they're woven, they'll then be brought up to a certain temperature and rolled into the process. What you're looking at here in the middle bench is Ben. He is carving in a line of tension. It's a jack line. This is the reference point where we'll be able to remove ourselves from this blowpipe. So as we elongate this bubble, it also transforms the shape of the piece. One big rotate and a 360 rotation helps elongate that bubble even more. The paddles are just for shaping as well as shielding his hand from the heat. Kristen will add a little bit of air and then another carving of the jack line. He'll go in with his jacks. Can we please see the jacks to get a better idea of how that tool works? We rolled up a clear bubble over some of the sorry about that, guys. We rolled up a clear bubble over some of the slumped cane, and that's how we got the pattern that you're able to see. It's a really beautiful crisscross pattern that was rolled into the clear bubble. It almost looks like a basket or kind of like a really pretty woven basket with texture. So Gabe is giving the hot glass a little bit of a quench over here. He's cooling it down a bit more rapidly. So the piece did not quite survive the ending portion of transferring it from one pipe to the next pipe, and it all kind of happened very fast just then. So Ben went ahead and put it into the water and cleaned it off the pipe. So they're going to start something different in a moment. For those of you who are here with us today, we have Kin- Kensuke Takeoka and Mai Noguchi with us from Japan. They are here for our Visiting Artists program. This is the first day of the residency with us. They'll be here all week. And so as they explore different options of how to apply this fused glass to, it's really more so a surface layer texture and a lot of texture that's being applied. So as they explore their options, you'll see that some things work, some things just don't work. So we have to reapproach how we would like to create items during this residency. It's our first time working with Kensuke as well as Mae. And so thank you guys for hanging out. We're still going to keep working. If you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and I'll be sure to answer your questions. What we're doing here on these ladders, the wooden ladders, is we're pulling cane. The cane will then be slumped, which will create what was in Mae's hand, which is like a cane that have up and down ridges, low and high points, and then they're woven. And what Ken is doing now is he's weaving the glass and he's reaming glass through the low and the high points. Can we please see some of Ken's past works? You can view more of Kensuke's work at Kensuke Takeoka underscore on Instagram. That's at Kensuke Takeoka underscore on Instagram. So now as the glass is pulled, it starts to chill. Once it starts to chill, then we'll go back and we've been making cane all day, just good old clear cane. And then it's chopped down. Once it's chopped down, it'll be laid over the kiln shelf here. The kiln shelf will then melt it, and that will create low and high points. And so there's shelving in here that's spaced out, just little shelves, and it's spaced out. So then it creates that wave of a low and a high point. As you can see, Kensuke's here. He's weaving the glass right now through a pattern that's been slumped already. Then we'll bring it back up to we'll bring it back up to a fused temperature of about 1300 degrees, and then we will roll it up into the glass. And so that's what we've been working on this morning. We made a really, really large orb, and it had two pieces of the woven glass. Like one side was laid on, and then the bubble was laid on the opposite side, and then they pinched the four corners together. It was beautiful, super beautiful pattern that was laid onto a bubble. Can we please see Kensuke's past works? So it was similar to this, but not the same. So as Ben goes in with his blocks, they've been soaked in water, and that will allow him to help those outer layers chill. Sorry about that. As the inner layers are still a little bit hot, so it's just assisting him with shaping. There's a bubble that's been blown into the glass there, which then hollows out a space that we can later go into and open up if we need to. Sure. about 13 to 1400 degrees. Once we picked it up, it then detached itself from the pipe and it fell onto the floor. So we picked it up and we So Kensuke says all my works are made up of glass lines that express the softness of glass and the warmth of the act of knitting a straight glass rod to fuse. A straight glass rod is fused in a kiln to form a fabric-like structure, and the heat is applied to allow the piece oh, to more freely and emphasize the shadow and line of the piece. In this residency, I will be creating new work. I have been making basket-like shapes for a long time, but I have been thinking more deeply about new, more fluid shapes. And so that's his plan for the residency. He spends time renting at the Toyoma Glass Studio. He also attended Toyoma Institute of Glass Art and graduated in 2021. He was awarded his residency here with us through the Museum of Glass Application Visiting Artist Program in 2020, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we had to meet now as we postponed a lot of our residencies. He'll be here through the 21st, and he's been here. He and Mae Noguchi, they are a partner, and they are partners, and they've been here for 2 weeks preparing for this week. And that's a lot longer than most visiting artists come to prepare. So it's a really intricate process. So Ben has gone in with his papers. Paper, what it is it's folded up newspapers and then soaked in water. And so when the bubble's ready and as it's been marvered properly into shape, then we'll roll it over this pad of glass that has been slumped. And this will give us a really pretty woven texture, three-dimensional pattern that comes out and over the glass. Kensuke said if anyone would like to ask him questions, please let him know. So if you guys have any questions, let us know. And so slowly that slump cane has been rolled into the hot glass, and then we'll start to clean up the pattern. So now as they paddle the glass, the texture of the slumped cane will start to fuse to the surface. It won't all the way be melted into the surface of the glass, but there will still be some pattern. So to clean up this glass, we pinched some of it together, then we had to cut it off with our shears, and then we'll give it a nice flash. Today we have Kensuke Takeoka. He's from Japan. He studied glass making at the Institute of Glass Art in Toyama. Here's some of his previous works up on the big screen. Kensuke actually applied and was awarded a residency in 2020, but unfortunately, due to the pandemic, he had to postpone his residency, so he gets to work with us today. The beauty of the Visiting Artist Program allows us a piece of the artist's work, and the rest they get to take home. So in the exhibit, in the What Are You Looking At exhibit, that entire exhibit, all items there were made here during the artists that came to the Visiting Artist Residency Program. And it also highlights the relationship between Pilchuck Glass School and the Museum of Glass. So Pilchuck Glass School was co-founded by Del Chihuly, as well as the Museum of Glass, and Pilchuck was where artists from around the world, so internationally, come and they create and they study and they learn. So it's a beautiful school for anyone interested in glass art, Pilchuck Glass School in Stanwood, Washington. And now we're just cleaning up some of the access clear glass. And so those jacks are a tool with inverted blades that allow us to carve into the glass. And then you'll see that he'll pick up some scissors, but they're diamond shears. And those actually have a 360 cut inside of them. So where the scissors intersect, there's a diamond that cuts off in 360 in opposition to at an angle like regular scissors do. If you guys have any questions, feel free to raise your hand. Today is the first day of Kensuke's residency, and if you want to see more of his work, you can follow him on Instagram at Kensuke Takeoka _. He also said if you have any questions, feel free to ask him. So Ben will slowly carve in a line. It's a jack line and it's a line of tension. So this line is being carved by those two blades. As he pinches, the blades are inverted so they will carve slowly into that hot glass. And then this is where we'll detach ourselves later. This is our reference point to be able to flip ourselves from this pipe and potentially open up the lip of this piece. She's not shaping, but from where you are, it looks like shaping. So as we continue to pull glass from the furnace, we have to recharge the furnace, and the furnace is that large tank where all the glass is held. Can we please see the charging the furnace video to learn a little bit more about how to get glass in the furnace?
Charging the furnace is what we call filling the furnace up with glass. Glass cullet is washed clean and loaded into tubes for filling. Here at the museum, we don't use recycled bottles. Instead, we melt cullet that has been specifically designed to make blown glass art. The primary ingredient in glass is silica sand, or silicon dioxide. The other two main ingredients are soda, or sodium oxide, which lowers the melting temperature, and lime or calcium oxide to stabilize it. Once the cullet is loaded into the 2300 degree furnace, a rake is used to level the glass for even melting. The furnaces at the Museum of Glass hold approximately 1,000 pounds of clear molten glass and run continuously 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Pipe there where you can see the end of that pipe and you can see that glass, that's called a gather around, and then they blow it. Sorry. They blow. So now that she's attached her transfer rod, it's also known as a punty rod. So we're going to transfer ourselves from the initial blowpipe to get the opening. So what's cool about glass blowing is we're actually working the bottom before we work on the top. So we're working upside down to a certain degree. We'll add a little bit of water to that carved in line of tension, that carved jack line. And then when he hits the pipe, the vibrations will detach us because he just placed thermoshock where that line was at. And so we'll hit that pipe and then we'll go back into the glory hole. The glory hole is about 2,300 degrees and we'll flash in there for a quick moment. And then we'll start to open up the front of this mouth. And it's a little tiny hole that allows us to blow really big bubbles. And so he'll make sure that he's securely on that punty or that pipe. And this pipe is hollow, so we can't blow in it anymore unless we use a special tool. But from there, we'll just continue to reheat and open up the mouth slowly. I'm not sure what shape we're gonna go for just yet. So in with his jacks, we're gonna keep the shape pretty much as is. We won't manipulate it too much. So this is the special tool I was referring to when we want to add more air to a piece or when we want to enlarge the bubble, we have to use a Sophie. And so a Sophietta is a little puffer tool. So we just add a little bit of air to the opposite side of the piece because we disconnected ourselves from the blowpipe. So we'll give a nice flash to the punty rod before we release ourselves from the glass and put it away. We've had a really interesting day of experimenting with Kensuke and Maye. They are from Japan and they'll be working with us all week with the woven glass texture. The woven glass fused pieces, I should say. So Gabe has suited up and he's put on some mittens to be able to catch this piece from the pipe. The mittens are made of Kevlar. Sometimes they'll go in front of the glory hole to just warm them up a little bit. So we'll put a little water on that punty, which will create thermal shock, and we'll vibrate the pipe and knock it off. Let's give them a round of applause for all their hard work today. And then an additional round of applause for Kensuke and Maye. Thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We will, I think that was our, we're gonna do some cleanup now. I think we're done for the day, but you're welcome to sit and watch us do our last finishing cleaning up.